Nerd Bourbon Film and TV Addiction Hotline. Is everything okay?
Hi, thank you so much for answering. It's been such a long time since I've rewatched one of my favorite movies or TV shows, but today I relapsed.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Bourbon Relapse, the podcast series where we revisit the series that we love. Todd, it's been a long time coming.
It's been 84 years.
It hasn't been quite that long, but it's been too long. It's been longer than we wanted.
It feels like a millennium.
But we're finally here. We're finally here ready to relapse into Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Ready to finish this fight.
It's only been what, like over a year since we started doing this shit?
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I thought we did this already.
Yeah, that was funny. Like, that's kind of the thing with this, or that has been the thing with this, is like I think we bit off more than we can chew for the first series for Relapse. I think Star Wars is a little too big for the first one to do, but rest assured, the next one we do will not be as long.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing that stalled us is then we ended up Anastasia watched like the original trilogy with us.
Yeah, so we had to kind of like wait for the moons to align with everybody's schedules, and to where we could all watch them together and have and carve out time to record together and stuff like that. So there was a lot of a lot of factors that went into it. So anyway, we're here now. We're ready to review it. Let's do that. We watched it together the other night finally. And now we've carved out the time. We said we need to finish this. It's getting a little fucking ridiculous. We need to finish this fight. And we're here just months away from episode 9 at this point. God damn it, Todd. We need to finish this Relapse. So, what did you think? I know coming into this, I know you've always been kind of like in the middle with The Last Jedi.
I've always been in the middle of it because I do have way more problems with it than you do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, going into it now, I do enjoy the movie like way more than at my first viewing. Because I remember leaving like the theater the first time I saw it. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people felt that way.
Well, again, it's like back then. It's like every theory you've ever had. Go fuck yourself. Well, okay. Snoke, fuck you.
It's funny because that's what I like it so much about the movie. But I'm curious though. It's just funny how like time has changed certain people's opinion both for the positive and the negative. Like me, I've always kind of loved the movie. Like I've always been pretty positive on the movie. It's honestly in the top kind of echelon of my favorite Star Wars movies.
It still wouldn't be at the top for me. I like it more.
I think at the end of this we should probably like give our personal rankings.
Okay.
Since we have at this point reviewed like every Star Wars movie. And it's actually funny because in this Relapse order we purposefully left Solo out because when we started doing this, Solo had just been released in theaters. So, but now it's like a full year after. We probably could have fucking gotten away with doing Solo.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, I honestly, this movie for me, it's one of those things where I actually enjoy it more every time I watch it. And I've probably seen it like 7 or 8 times now.
Probably I think I'm at like 4.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere in the ballpark 7, 8, 9, or 10 times, somewhere like that. Just between viewing it with like Anastasia, I saw it 3 times in theaters. So I'm probably somewhere in that neighborhood. And every time I watch it, I just find new things to really enjoy about it. It's not perfect. There's definitely some like weird stuff with the movie, and I don't want to rehash. Like we did an episode of Shots about this movie that's like almost an hour long, so I don't want to like retread any old ground and like just like re-review the movie. But I think if you really wanted to get a taste of like what our impressions were when this movie was fresh, you can literally, go back and listen to that old episode of Shots from when that movie was still in theaters and Todd and I talked about it. So You can literally go back and compare and contrast our opinions if you want to, and I encourage you to do that if you give a shit enough to do that. That's the both the advantage and the disadvantage of doing this podcastery as long as we've been doing it. But it's just for me, like every time I come back to this movie, I don't know, I find new things to like about it, and ultimately what it boils down to for me, I feel about this movie the way that I kind of feel about the Godzilla movie, the first of the new Godzilla movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a weird comparison to make, but stick with me.
I'm waiting. I'm ready to hear this.
Because like when I hear people bitch about that movie, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, it has problems. It still has some of the best Godzilla shit that you've ever seen in a Godzilla movie.
I'll give you... Okay, yeah.
And with The Last Jedi, I'm like, all right, yeah, cool. Like, I have problems with it. It's not perfect. It still has some of the best Star Wars shit in any Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like... When we were coming up on certain scenes, and by the way, this is Relapse. It should go without saying, full spoilers. We're not gonna tiptoe around spoilers here. We're relapsing into it. You should not be listening to this if you have not seen the movie. This is a rewatch podcast, so you should watch before you rewatch. I mean, the scene with like Yoda is straight up my favorite scene in any Star Wars movie.
That scene gets me like teary-eyed.
Every time I get emotional when I see that scene.
That scene makes me just so happy, and that scene's always made me happy. Like I remember in theaters, I'm like, I fucking love that shit.
It's not even close for me. That is straight up my favorite scene in any Star Wars movie to date. And then like the action scene, I know you were saying that there's like some stunt men that like tore it apart or whatever, but the action scene in the throne room, I don't care. That's the best action scene in any Star Wars movie. The stuff with Luke. I mean, I know some people are like, "Oh, that's not my Luke," blah blah blah. Personally, it works. It works for me. It completely works for me.
It's grown on me. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to.
I get what people are saying. I get what people think, and I see the argument of people are like, "Oh, Luke wouldn't have given up." Like Luke's supposed to represent pure optimism and hope and stuff like that. And I'm like, so is he not allowed to be a person? Is he not allowed to be a human being that recognizes his own failures and his hubris? Like, do you really want Luke to be this like altruistic, never failing God? Like, that's really what people want? There's nothing interesting about that.
Yeah.
And by the way, and I said this when we watched The Force Awakens, I believe I actually mentioned this in the Relapse, that wasn't even Rian Johnson's decision to put Luke in exile. That was always the game plan from The Force Awakens. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of fortuitous that we are doing this episode of Relapse when we are, because J.J. Abrams was recently questioned in an interview about Episode 9 where they're like, "Oh, The Last Jedi must have totally fucking derailed your plans, didn't it?" And JJ was like, "No, not really. As a matter of fact, none of my story beats have changed because of The Last Jedi." So a lot of people looked at The Last Jedi thinking it's some like train wreck that completely derailed JJ's plans from The Force Awakens, and it just totally fucking changed everything. It's like, no, actually it didn't at all. And maybe that's just PR speak on his point, but
that was my first thought, to be honest.
That could, I mean, it could very well be, but personally, I mean, I buy it because, again, he already laid those foundations down from The Force Awakens. The idea of Luke being in exile. Maybe there are things that, and furthermore, this is Star Wars. This is Lucasfilm. This is a multi-billion-dollar franchise, one of the biggest franchises of all time. You really think they had literally no plan? It felt that way. A lot of people feel like it had no plan because of how different and controversial The Last Jedi was. And I think that The Last Jedi makes a point of kind of shifting your expectations. The Last Jedi definitely makes a point.
I don't even think shifting would be the right words. Subverting is the right word.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, just completely taking your expectations and turning them on your ear, Like that is The Last Jedi's mission. but I don't think that means that the main plot beats were ever derailed. I think that Rian Johnson probably came into this movie with plot beats that he knew he had to hit, and he kind of put his own spin on other things. It's clear to me that there are, given the successes and the failures of The Last Jedi, I don't feel like this movie is just like the thing that came in and stirred up the pot and fucked everything up like everybody seems to think it is. People put a lot of the blame on this movie. And I think it's warranted in some respects and it's unwarranted in a lot of others. This is like definitely the most controversial Star Wars movie. And, I think it gets the shit end of the stick a lot of the time. Because I really like it. I think it does a lot of things really right. So now that you've revisited the movie and you say that you like it a lot more now, what are some things that you think have improved in your mind?
The handling of Luke, to me.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Because I used to get pissed.
So you were one of those people going in.
Oh, yeah. It pissed me the fuck off.
Do you think that you just sort of like, with time, have grown to accept it?
Yeah.
Or in other words, do you think you actually like this handling of Luke, or do you just kind of deal with it now?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. I won't even lie. A little bit of acceptance of what they did to my boy.
So in a perfect world, like what does Todd's perfect version of The Last Jedi look like in terms of Luke? How would you what would you have liked to see with Luke?
Yeah, at that point, it's going back to Force Awakens, not having him exiled, but that's whatever.
So you would just not want him to be exiled whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying though. You don't turn to The Last Jedi to fix these problems. You turn back to the base.
That's why I said it. That's why
yeah.
I said, because again, it's just rewatching these movies. I see why Luke is the way he is. It's just I don't want Luke to be that way. It's kind of,
But I think that's what makes it so effective. I think that's what makes it effective is to see Luke becoming this sort of like sad, angry hermit who is just like living with his own failures.
And then when they finally gets his last hurrah, and it's like that right there is like the Luke that I love at the end there.
Right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, and I know I'm bringing in a lot of other movies to compare this stuff, but again, stick with me. It reminds me of when people complained about Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman v Superman, because people are like, "Oh, that's not my Batman," and I'm like, "But he becomes your Batman at the end." Like people are like, "Oh, like in the beginning of the movie, like he's so like he's depressed and he's like killing people and blah blah blah."
That's the thing with that movie. It's just like he's a jaded old Batman.
Right.
Yeah, it's like shit.
But then by the end of the movie, he finds purpose again, and I felt joy seeing him become my Batman again. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt about Luke, where he's jaded old Luke. He's got good reason for being jaded old Luke. And this is stuff that is established even back in The Force Awakens. This is stuff that was already in play. He's got good reason for going into exile and cutting himself off from the Force. And he's not thrown like a whiny bitch fit about it. He fully believes that it's time for the Jedi to end. He fully believes that there's no place for him in this world anymore. So he cuts himself off. And I found joy in seeing him become my Luke again. If you don't start from the bottom, you have nowhere to rise. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't have him just be this fucking god from the beginning of the series and just have him like that's not interesting. It's not interesting to me to have Luke just from the get-go being just this altruistic force that's just always there.
And I don't know why I forgot about this, but I totally forgot that they foreshadowed a little bit of what Luke was going to do in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I forgot that, because like, Kylo's like, you're not projecting. The effort here would kill you.
Yes.
The effort,
Yes, and they do a lot of foreshadowing actually in the movie. There, I pointed it out to you. They foreshadow the shot with the going through the what's it called, the fucking
whatever
the ship's called, where the classic shot where Holdo uses the light speed to go through the ship.
It's a very, very pretty shot.
Awesome shot. There's a couple, just when I think of negatives about the movie, I think of nitpicky things. I think of shit like, and I was pointing this out to you when we were watching it, just dumb shit like why didn't Holdo just tell everybody about her plan?
Yep. That is still one of my major gripes with the movie.
That's a big sticking point for me, because I'm just like, all of this could have been avoided if Holdo just told somebody about her plan.
And it's like, at that point, it's like that plan would have been whatever. The wild Cantabite wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That needed to happen. So
I'm just like, but why? Like, just why? It almost felt like she was just for literally no reason withholding all this information.
And then it was always weird to me. She's like, I like him. It's like, what?
I don't know. And I think that the movie does a little bit of misdirection too, where like and I think this is intentional. When Holdo's first introduced, they make you sort of feel like she's gonna be like a villain, almost like an antagonistic force. I think that might have something to do.
In a way, she still kind of is.
Ish. I mean, they do all that and they build it up as an antagonistic force because you, as the viewer, you're kind of on Poe's side, just as the viewer.
Yeah.
But it's also, you feel kind of weird about that, though, because the entire movie has kind of told you that Poe is wrong. The entire movie has told you, like...
That's the point of, like, Poe's arc in this movie. Like, to kind of make him a leader.
Right.
Know?
Right. To make him a leader versus somebody who just gets in TIE fighters and blows shit up.
And again, by the end of it, he is that leader. He's like, hey, we got to get the fuck out of here, like, instead of, like, doing the suicide run.
Right. And I like that. I like his arc and everything in the movie, but it does seem at odds with everything that goes on with the Holdo stuff. And when Holdo first appears, it's like, oh wow, is she some sort of like antagonistic force, or do you just feel that way because you're sort of siding with Poe? But am I supposed to be siding with Poe because Poe is kind of like he's been kind of like unjustified in a lot of his actions leading up to this point?
Like, the main thing is like, hey, oh shit, we took out a dreadnought, but it's like, how many people died?
Right.
Like,
we don't have the resources to be throwing at these bombing runs and stuff, and all these. I think they're down to like what, like I think they either lost all of their bombers or they were down to like one or two bombers after it was done.
They legitimately only had, I think, one bomber left.
Yeah. So I mean, you're kind of told that he was in the wrong, and then in comes, after everything happens with Leia and she's sort of in a coma or whatever, in comes Holdo. And you're already like hating her just from the outset. But then once Leia kind of comes out of her coma, it becomes like again the movie kind of flips the expectations around, and it's like, oh well, now Holdo's like this martyr kind of force that had a good plan to get everybody away, that she didn't tell anybody about for no reason, but it is a good plan, and they follow it. And if it weren't for if it weren't for DJ, really, the plan would have worked.
Yeah, but it's because of that distrust between Holdo and like basically everyone on that fucking ship, or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if it was like the thing was like, oh, she thought there was gonna be like a spy or some shit, like, or like a traitor. Like, oh.
I mean, maybe there's something to be said for that. I mean, maybe that's an argument that you could make. But again, that's a quick line you could have said. Like that's a quick scene. You could have had like somebody say like, oh, Admiral, like what's your plan here, and she could say that she doesn't want to let anybody know or whatever. That's something that you could have worked in to make it more obvious that was what was going on, because as it stands, it seems like she's just withholding information for literally no reason. Mm-hmm. And so when
it gets to the breaking point with Poe, he's like, hey, mutiny time.
Right, and that's all completely unnecessary. And by the way, like, when he's got you literally at gunpoint, wouldn't that be a good time to be like, no, Poe, dude, this is my plan. You don't understand. This is what we're doing. And it's not until Leia comes back into the picture that she kind of reveals what's going on, and then ends up, we're supposed to feel good about her character now because she kind of goes down with the ship, and and plays party to a breathtaking visual scene. Obviously, it just, I don't know. And then I don't like, again, if we're continuing on with nitpicks, I don't like what they did to Admiral Akbar. That upsets me.
They massacred my boy.
Classic character that was killed basically off screen.
And again, that is essentially like I'm gonna say a decent amount of people's major problems is the handling of like some of the classic characters.
Yeah.
It's like shit, dude.
That was a little disrespectful. Like I wish that, and I understand that the tone of the movie is supposed to be kind of like breathless and it's a chase and you don't really have time to stop and mourn, but it would have been nice to have a little something to acknowledge
replace
the death
Holdo's
of Akbar.
role with Akbar. Whew.
That actually is not a bad idea.
Dude, I would have loved it.
Yeah, that actually is not a bad idea. I actually think that might have been something. Because I think you have a little built-in... I think Star Wars fans have a built-in trust with Akbar as a classic character. Yeah, I think that would have been good.
And
I don't know.
And Akbar going out like a fucking boss like that? Oh.
And that would have been a cool way for Akbar to go out, yeah. Yeah.
Akbar is more than a meme, goddammit.
He's a legitimately great character.
Yeah.
And he just kind of goes out like a bitch. Like, there's a little line where they say, like, oh, the Admiral's, like, dead or whatever.
It's like, really? That's how you're going to do him. Okay.
But that's how they did him, and it's a bummer. But I want to talk about Canto Bite, because that has been a major point of contention with a lot of people.
I have no... I mean, I don't even really remember if I had issues with it. Other than the fact that it is like just a fucking side quest ass story plot.
That's everybody's major issue with it, and it is your mileage may vary on how much you care about that or not. I think
that's kind of where I'm like, where I'm at now. I'm like, it's whatever. I enjoy it because you actually see weird alien shit.
Yeah, like here's the deal. Since when did you guys need Star Wars to be this self-serious, like, go plot, when like the movies are all about reveling in this universe? Like, when did it stop being okay to just enjoy living in the Star Wars universe and just seeing the different corners of this universe? If you just cut out the Canto Bite stuff completely like people seem to want, you would get none of that in this movie, by the way. You would just be stuck on the ships. You would be stuck dealing with First Order versus... It would literally be, the stuff with Rey and Luke on Octo, and it would be the First Order versus the Resistance little chase. That would be what the movie is if you didn't have Canto Bite.
Mm-hmm.
The Canto Bite thing is there to make it a Star Wars movie. To let us live in the Star Wars universe, to give us some fun aliens, to give us like some interesting visuals and stuff like that. And by the way, I kind of like the little messages of hope and the way that it ties into the way hope is spreading throughout the galaxy after Luke does come back. And it ties into the ending of the movie. I think that stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they're like, oh, well, they just go and the mission fails. I'm like, well, that's the fucking point of the movie.
Failure.
Failure is the overall message of the movie. Like
Yoda's line, failure, the greatest teacher.
Yes.
Or whatever,
The greatest teacher failure is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is literally the movie's message, is learning to accept your failures. And like, by the way, DJ, we were talking about DJ as we were watching it, a great character that you wouldn't get if you didn't go to the Canto Bite stuff. The final kind of, what I assume is going to be the final encounter with Phasma wouldn't happen if you didn't go to Canto Bite. It's just like, I think it makes sense. Like, I think Canto Bite makes sense, and I think it's good. Like, I enjoy the Canto Bite stuff. And people have torn it apart, and people hate it, and I just don't see where it comes from. I really like it. I don't know. Is it necessary? No, but you know what's also not necessary? Like the Mos Eisley Cantina and reveling in.
I love the cantina.
That's what I'm saying. But we didn't need that. We could have met Han Solo and Chewie literally anywhere. But you know what? George Lucas decided to have us meet them in the Mos Eisley Cantina because it's fucking Star Wars. Because he wanted to show us all these alien creatures.
Well, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Rose.
I like Rose.
Rose doesn't bother me. I wish she was written better.
I don't even think she's written poorly. I think what a lot of people are upset. I think a lot of people they like to say, "Oh, we have no issue with Kelly Marie Tran." Like, well, I think you actually do, because I don't either. But I think these haters, I think do actually have an issue with Kelly Marie Tran, even if they think that they don't. I think a lot of people are like, oh, she's like got this weird like fangirl vibe in the Star Wars universe, and I'm like, I like that about her, personally. I think I kind of liked her little turn when we first meet her, how she starts off as kind of a fangirl for Finn.
Then sees his ass trying to dip out. It's like, hey, motherfucker.
And then realizes what he's doing, and she just like tasers his ass.
Mm-hmm.
I like her. I think she has a place. I like that she sort of feels like she has to buck up after the death of her sister. And like, even though her sister's only in one scene in the very beginning of the movie, I like her sister too. And I like that they have kind of a built-in relationship that you can feel. I don't know. I like Rose. A lot of people shit on her. I like her. Like, I think she's fine. I don't think she's like some fantastic.
I just think she does dumb shit.
She does rash things. Like, I completely don't agree with her decision to like stop Finn from fucking making his sacrifice at the end. Like, that always rubbed me the wrong way.
Because I want to know what they plan on doing. What do they plan on doing with Finn in this next movie? That's my thing. Other than the leaks that I think I kind of know about.
Well, I don't really know too much about Finn's place in the next movie, other than I know that like I know that the next movie, based on what JJ has said, is supposed to be about like really spending time with the whole crew together.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, if Finn had sacrificed himself in The Last Jedi, we wouldn't have really gotten that. So I don't mind that Finn survived The Last Jedi. I just think it was weird the way Rose went about it.
It could have, because either way, if Finn did die, or even if he survived, whatever, but even if he did die, that would have been a good, character arc for Finn. To like always running away from him, to actually legitimately standing up to him like that.
Yeah, to finally stop running from the First Order and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people are like, oh, Finn should have died in The Last Jedi, blah, blah, blah. And I don't necessarily agree, but I also agree with what you're saying, though, that if it happened, it would have been fine.
Yeah, it would have been. I would have had, like, it would have been fine either way, technically. And it's just. What was that? It's a stupid line. Stupid Rose's.
Yeah, I just don't.
Fucking line, dude.
Well, I just don't buy the whole, like when she kisses him, and like, there has been no. First of all, been no like hints of romance between the two of them whatsoever. Like, nothing. And you could make the argument of like, oh, but it's fucking war, dude. People do irrational shit in war, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. I just didn't. I thought it was really weird for her to basically confess her love for him with no pretext whatsoever. Because she dives in, saves him. Okay, that's fine. But then like, she's sitting there basically fighting consciousness, kisses him, and she says that's how we're going to win this war, like not fighting what we hate but saving what we love.
It's like, what?
And it's like, hang on, huh? You're just like going to tell Finn that you like love him out of nowhere, and you're going to put that on him now? That's weird. I don't know. And by the way, that message doesn't really have anything to do with Finn or his motivations. He's not.
Yeah.
He felt like he was saving what he loved. He was getting rid of that battering ram. By the way, that would have helped if they were able to get rid of it. But it just her motivations in that scene were weird. But other than that, I really don't have a problem with Rose's character whatsoever. If there's anything that I think a lot of people, I think this episode of Relapse has kind of just turned to debunking anti-Last Jedi arguments.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But I think that I think that a lot of people take issue with the way Snoke was handled in this movie.
Yeah.
How do you fall on that now?
Um,
Because I know you were upset about that. I think
I'm still like, every time he's doing shit, I'm like, this motherfucker is powerful.
Yeah.
I wanna know why. Don't give me a book. Fuck you.
There are a lot of theories on what's going on with Snoke and stuff, and I don't know that we're gonna get a clear answer to that or not. I don't know that I need
the
one.
man is is just hilariously powerful.
Well, like, and again, here's my argument to that. Did we need an explanation in the original trilogy? We probably get more. If anything, we probably get more Snoke than we got the Emperor in the original trilogy. Like,
Shit.
I haven't sat and like looked at the actual screen time count, but we probably do.
Shout out to the moment I realized the Emperor had a cane.
Across all the movies, I mean, there's probably just as much, if not more, Snoke stuff than as there is Emperor stuff. We don't know anything about Darth Sidious coming into in the original trilogy.
Until the prequels.
Yeah, we don't know anything about him in the original trilogy other than, oh, he's like the powerful Emperor. That's all we know.
Yeah.
That's it. And like, so to that end, I don't know why we have different expectations for Snoke. I don't know why we suddenly need some deep backstory. Apropos of nothing, by the way, people want us to just like get random flashbacks to Snoke's backstory. It makes no fucking sense.
I want to know why he's dressed like Goldmember. Why he dresses in a snazzy like gold robe.
This is the kind of stuff that's destined for books. I know you're, I don't want a book, but it's like, where is it going to fit in the movie?
I don't have time to read, boy.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. These people who don't want to...
I want my cake, and I want to eat it.
These people who don't want to get bogged down in superfluous side quests like Canto Bight are the same people who want to get bogged down in superfluous bullshit like Snoke backstory.
But Snoke backstory actually interests me.
Not really. It's not. It matters less, actually, to the overall plot.
But it's cool.
All you need to know about Snoke is that he is powerful and he's bad. That's what you need to know about Snoke. I want to know
why he's bad and powerful.
And again, there are theories about that. We'll see if they touch on that in episode 9. I sort of don't think they will. I don't really think there's
I don't know about that theory, the one you mentioned to me. I don't know about it. I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, there's theories that like Palpatine possessed Snoke and stuff like
that. I just think he's just another dude that he's like he saw his chance and he took it.
Yeah, I mean look, there's a lot. There's definitely going to be a lot to unpack once episode 9 rolls around, and I don't know.
Am I the only one who thinks Snoke gets a little too into it?
Well, I mean, hell, Sidious got really into it in in the Return of the Jedi.
Real shit. They're getting turned on by the Force. Ooh.
They got horny by all the hatred. Oh yes, I can feel your anger. Just his eyes closed, like rolled in the back of his head.
That's kind of like, it's one of the things that like Snoke does. It's like, ooh, I can feel you turning your blade. It's like, ooh, shit.
You just took it to a real porny place there.
I know I did.
So yeah, there's that whole thing. People upset about Snoke and stuff like that, and I don't know. I think that there is an argument for everything to be said against this movie.
There's two sides of every story.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you come to this and you either, again, there are flaws. We nitpicked plenty of things, but at the end of the day, I really love this movie. I want to end this relapse and this journey into Star Wars by ranking our favorites. What do you think your Star Wars ranking is?
Let me get these up here. I want to actually look at them and actually think about this.
See, yeah, this is something that I would have to think of also. And we've watched them all recently, so we know we have a leg to stand on.
So I'm trying to think about it. I think my favorite one, number one, would be
Solo. I'm just kidding.
I think it'd be Return of the Jedi.
Uh-huh.
This is a hard fucking list, bro. To kind of come up with off the cuff.
It's not even really off the cuff for me because I kind of think.
I mean,
about this a lot.
I kind of thought about it, but so it would probably go Return of the Jedi. I'm gonna be honest. The original trilogy is gonna be on the upper echelon for me.
Of course.
It'll probably go Return of the Jedi. Deadass probably Empire Strikes Back next.
Mm-hmm.
Then Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Well, yeah.
Really? That high?
Yeah, I love Revenge of the Sith.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Are we doing Rogue One and Solo in this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So at that point, I'd go. Revenge of the Sith was 3 for me.
Yep.
And that is episode 3. Haha. No.
Oh.
Then I would probably go New Hope.
Okay. New Hope 2, The Force Awakens.
Actually, no. I feel like I actually like Solo more than Force Awakens.
Really? Okay.
I do. Then Force Awakens. So Solo, then Force Awakens. And then, what am I left with?
Rogue One, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, and Last Jedi.
Damn, I don't really... What do I like more? Do I like Phantom Menace more than I like Rogue One? Yeah, it'd be Rogue One, Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones.
Where's Last Jedi fit in?
Oh, yeah, shit. I totally forgot about Last Jedi. Deadass, put it in the middle of that. Middle of the road for me.
Interesting. For me, I go Empire is my favorite. That's just always going to be a thing. I would be shocked if Empire is ever dethroned as my favorite Star Wars movie. Then I go Return of the Jedi. Then I go The Last Jedi. Then A New Hope. And then A New Hope 2, Force Awakens. And then I do Revenge of the Sith. Rogue One, Solo, The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think this list is different depending on who you ask. My wife actually loves The Phantom Menace. She ranks The Phantom Menace high.
I don't love The Phantom Menace, but I enjoy it.
She loves The Phantom Menace. She puts it in her top 3.
Really?
Yeah. And she also I think she said The Last Jedi is her favorite of the Star Wars movies. So it's interesting. Everybody you ask has a different ranking for these movies, right?
Yeah, I mean, shit. Revenge went high just because there's so much I love about that movie.
Oh, so yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
It's relatively high. Revenge is in the middle for me, but I really
top 3 for me. So
I really like. I don't think there's a just dog shit movie out of all of them, to be honest. I find things to enjoy about all of them. Even Attack of the Clones, which is pretty much unilaterally going to be at the bottom of most people's list. I think Attack of the Clones still has good shit about it. So, but I think that's interesting. That's our list. That's where we stand. Now that we have relapsed through the entire Star Wars saga, we're looking ahead to December. Do you feel comfortable leaving Star Wars where it is, Todd, in your Bourbon Relapse history?
Definitely.
All right. The tome has been closed. This chapter of Nerd Bourbon Relapse has been closed. We're going to open a new one. We were talking about, I think we're obviously going to move into something smaller next for our next Nerd Bourbon Relapse series. I'm thinking, we're talking about this. I'm leaning towards Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
As the next one. A, because it's been a while since I've rewatched those, and I really would like to rewatch them. And B, it's 3 movies.
I jokingly suggested Austin Powers.
I wouldn't mind doing Austin Powers.
The thing is, I'm kind of down for it too, though. So,
are they still doing an Austin Powers 4, or is that a fever dream?
Was that a thing?
There was, for some reason, I remember hearing rumors recently that they were going to be doing Austin Powers 4. But honestly, I would be down to do Austin Powers. I love that stupid series. There's a million places we could go, but I think for the foreseeable future, obviously we would love to tackle the big, the Middle Earth movies, the Harry Potter movies and stuff like that.
I see. I would actually be really down to do Lord of the Rings and shit with you, because at that point I would also want to add The Hobbit, because you haven't seen the last two or the last one.
So but that's what I'm saying, is that like I would love to do those, but I think for the foreseeable future for Relapse, just to keep us consistent and to get us into a swing of it to where we're not spending a fucking year doing another series, I think we should keep it, for the foreseeable future at least, I think we should keep it to smaller series. So like, I think
we'll probably do a two-parter. We do like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? And then like maybe take a little break off the Middle-earth shit, do another series. Then we'll do The Hobbit or something.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge.
I'm giving you options, bitch. All right?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but I think you can expect shorter series for us to cover. Like I would like to cover some like trilogies. You know what I mean? To where we can just kind of quickly knock out and get into a real groove with Relapse.
Yeah, actually maybe get them out like I'm not going to say a time frame.
Just get them out in a timely manner that is not fucking a year between releases. So
I still want to talk about that. We touched on it, but I'm like, I swear to God, I thought we did this.
Right. Well, again, that just speaks to how we just never found a groove for Relapse, because you forget about it, or you think you already did it and shit like that. So it's just like we got to find a groove with it. So I think you can expect some shorter stuff for us in the future. But Todd, you got anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I think that's about it, man.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time we decide to relapse. Bye.
See ya.
Hey there, thanks for checking out another fantastic Nerd Bourbon video. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, leave us a like, drop us a nice comment, or I guess a mean one if that's your prerogative. But until next time, get dunked on.